Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel, the Value Creation Playbook. Thanks for logging in. And once again, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. If you are new to my channel, welcome and thanks for being a part of the journey. In each episode, I discuss on topics related to growth and profitability. These topics are extremely important in today's volatile and uncertain business environment. In today's episode number 29, I will share my point of view on why cost cutting fails to fix margin problem. Every quarter, I hear the same boardroom conversation. Margins are under pressure. Let's cut cost. And yet, margins keep falling. What do? We outsource, we automate, we transform, we offshore, and a whole bunch of stuff. But still, across industries, margins behave the same way. So today, I want to challenge a deeply held belief. Most margin problems are not cost problems. They are value realization problems. This video, this 10-15 minutes talk that you'll have is not about a cost problem or cost discussion. It's how margins are getting destroyed over a period of time because you're looking at things with the wrong lens. Here's the paradox, friends. For 2 decades, companies have done almost everything right on costs. Yet margin across sectors, be it manufacturing to technology to services, continue to compress. So ask yourself, if cost cutting really worked, why do we keep having the same margin crisis every year? Because cost cutting treats margin more like an accounting outcome. Value creation treats margin as a design outcome. That's a very big paradigm shift. Look at what happened in retail post-COVID. Many brands reduced staff, marketing folks, marketing guys. Result, lower pricing power, not high margins, dissatisfied customers. So always remember, cost relief is temporary. Value erosion is permanent. And that's the biggest damaging thing that you can do to your business. But unfortunately, it doesn't happen that doesn't happen that same way. Cost cutting feels attractive. Why? Because it's very much within the management control. It shows immediate EBITDA impact. It signals decisive action to boards and investors. But speed, my friend, is not the same as effectiveness. I've seen companies celebrate hitting saving targets while margins quietly leak elsewhere in pricing, in customer mix, in delivery complexity, or a mix of all. What we have done is you have created an activity, not resolved the core issue. Cost action without understanding margin structure is like tightening bolts on a leaking pipe without finding where the water is actually escaping. Now, let's talk about why margins leak. Think of erosion over a long period of time, just like what you see in nature. And honestly, margins don't disappear because of one bad decision. They erode through hundreds of small micro choices that you do. One, sales teams offering one-time discounts. Second could be operations absorbing extra scope just to keep the client happy. I know they're going to come again. finance approving deals without visibility on the real engagement economics. Every decision seems rational in isolation. Together, they destroy value. That is why margin problems survive multiple transformation programs, not because teams aren't working hard, but because nobody owns the margin system end to end. This brings me to the heart of today's conversation, the margin leakage framework. And there are three legs to this entire framework, just like a stool uh, where you sit. So there is pricing leakage, there's a mix leakage, and there's an execution leakage. And we'll talk of all of them in the due course of today's conversation. So from a value creation perspective, margins leak in three structural zones: pricing, value is not getting captured; mix, value is getting diluted; or execution, value is getting destroyed. The most challenging part is all of these show independently or sometimes come all together in a mixed bag, and that becomes untangling all of them extremely difficult. And that's where you need somebody with a deep understanding of the business strategy and transformation to come and support you. That's where firms like mine, Rodemi Consulting, is here to help. Absolutely happy to talk. Always remember, sustainable margin improvement happen only when leaders manage all three together. Now let's walk through each one of them in sequence. Starting with pricing leakage. Pricing leakage is everywhere, especially in B2B. What are the common patterns that I see when I speak to the CEOs? Discounts getting approved without deal level economics understanding. Both the teams are not speaking to each other. Sales has a different priority, finance has a different priority. Second could be price increase announced, but quietly offset by rebates and exceptions. There's no single view, not single source of truth on what's happening on pricing. Renewals that reset margins backwards, or it could be a sales incentive that rewards volume, not the value. So I'm just looking at the top line, not the bloodbath that's happening elsewhere. Many firms, like the SaaS enterprise that I've mentioned, uh, announced a 6 to 8% hike in 23-24, but realized pricing barely moved because customer success teams were incentivized to protect accounts at all costs. Headline prices went up, actual margins did not, they went down. So, from a value creation playbook, pricing is not a sales tactic, it's a strategic capability. Margins improve when pricing reflects customer value, not internal cost pressure. Now let's talk of mix leakage. And that's the header that I put in on the slide. Growth that looks good but pays poorly. Here's the hard truth. Not all revenue that you have is good revenue. Mix leakage happens when low margin customers scale faster than core accounts. Strategic deals that never migrate to target margins. Could be a support issue, could be long gestation, could be a delivery mismatch, could be a scope creep, whatever that is. It can come in any avatar, but it doesn't really achieve the end goal. Third could be customization and complexity that explode without pricing discipline. Change order after change orders, no tracking of what's happening. Or cost to serve rises faster than revenue. You have seen this in manufacturing and SaaS firms expanding aggressive to mid-market to emerging segments. Top line grows, so does complexity. special pricing, bespoke services, manual processes. The result? Margin growth with margin dilution. Always remember, value creation leaders don't chase growth blindly. They curate it. Now, the last part, the last one, the execution leakage. And that's what I say as when planned margins die. Even with a good pricing and mix, margins can vanish in delivery. Execution leakage shows up in different forms, shapes, avatar. It could be one of them or all of them. Utilization gaps, cost overruns embedded into operating models, manual work where automation was assumed, rework, delays, weak accountability. The list is endless, but these are the four major noise creators. In consulting, tech services, even construction, I often see margins budgeted at deal sign off, but never tracked after delivery. That gap becomes accepted variance. From a value creation lens, execution is not cutting heads, not cutting FTEs. It's about designing delivery models that protect margin by default. Always remember that. It has to protect margin by default. And this brings me to this vicious cycle. And this is the uncomfortable part. When cost cutting is applied without fixing leakage, your differentiation erodes, customer weaknesses weakens or simply vanishes. Uh, Pricing power declines dramatically. And as a fallout of all these noise that's creating a stressed working environment, talent exits, especially the top talent. That's a really bad situation for you to be in. The market reads cost cutting as defensive. Customer push harder on price, employees disengage, supplier tighten terms. You enter a vicious cycle. Lower value, more price pressure, more cost cuts leads to weaker margin. At some point, you simply cannot cut your way to competitiveness. Now, I told you why and what. Let me also tell you how high margin companies do things differently. Companies with durable margin don't obsess over cost alone. What do they do differently? They govern pricing at the deal and renewal level, actively manage customer and product mix. Lastly, design operating model for margin. And of course, you cannot know where you are heading if you don't track realized margins. Realized margins, not just the budgeted numbers. Always remember that. Think about Apple. They don't win on being the cheapest. They protect margins by reinforcing perceived value across product, their entire ecosystem, and very importantly, customer experience. Or take Netflix. Instead of just cutting content spend when costs rose, they doubled down on differentiated IP to sustain pricing power. Always remember, value creation always precedes margin expansion. Now let's understand we need to have a very big paradigm shift from defense to an offense. Instead of asking, what can we cut? What cost line can we reduce? Value creation leaders like you should ask, Where is the margin leaking? And more importantly, why? What would customers willingly pay more for? This is a big discussion in most of the transformation conversations. Very important for you to have those open-hearted conversations with your C-suite. Uh, Understand what can really change the value creation narrative for your organization. Which cost protect differentiation and pricing power? So there are some structural costs and there are some costs that will always be there. And those are the variable costs. So that's why you need to start differentiating. Always remember, in nowhere, in no part of the discussion am I saying that you need to ignore efficiency. What I'm trying to say is cutting what doesn't create value and investing in what does. So that's the flip. Don't cut costs for a temporary relief. Think long term. What do you want to change? What do you want to offer value to your customers? If your margins are under pressure, don't start with the cost line. Start with how value is created and where it's being lost. That's a real margin choice. Short term relief or long term value. The choice is yours, but that's what you need to start thinking about. And with this, we come to an end of today's discussion. Thank you for being a part of the journey. Keep sending your inputs. Keep sending me what you want to hear more about the key topics that you face today in the business environment. Happy to be a part of your transformation journey. Happy to scale your businesses in the right sustainable growth model. Thank you once again. Till we meet next time, take care, stay safe. Goodbye for now.